We will be sending it out all the slides and a meeting summary and a recording afterwards that we put on the archive page. But just keep that in mind. If you are uncomfortable with being recorded, maybe put your comments and thoughts into the chat rather than speaking up. But we want to be able to, well, not everyone could make it today, so we want to be able to provide them this resource after the fact. Okay, background. Many of you have seen this graph already, but in our draft solid waste master plan for 2030, we set some pretty aggressive waste reduction goals. And as we look at these goals, we realize that recycling and composting are very important parts of this, but they can only go so far, and we really need to reduce things at the source, some waste at the source, as well as continue to keep items that we have in use longer through repair, sharing, and secondhand ownership of items. So in the solid waste master plan, we had spelled out a couple of priority materials that seemed very applicable to reducing and reusing. And these are the ones that we had narrowed down. We had looked at our waste characterization studies to see what had made up a large portion of what was being sent for incineration here in Massachusetts, as well as the potential for us being able to make some pretty big reductions in these categories. So that's kind of how we had scoped conversations over the past year. And then this is a recap of what we have done to date. So we've had 10 meetings since a year ago, last March. We actually had to we had our kickoff meeting in person, which feels crazy that happened a year ago and we were in person. All of the other ones were virtual, which was also a blessing in a lot of ways because we were able to hear from more people who may have a hard time getting into downtown and and at different periods of time. And we figured out how to, hopefully you agree that we figured out how to make this happen virtually. But these are all hyperlinked when I send out the PDF. There is an archive page on our website, which I believe Rachel will chat out to you in case you're curious. And those are where all of the recordings and the presentations and the summary of meetings from all of these conversations live in our home. So if you want to check back and see any of those are there and available for you. So after having all of those meetings, we heard so many ideas, which was very exciting to have everyone participate and share their thoughts and their ideas of what we should do here in Massachusetts to promote waste reduction and reuse. And so now our next step was identifying how are we going to most effectively do that, given, there's only so many of us and we only have so much capacity to work towards these goals. How can we most effectively reduce that disposal by 30% by 2030 and 90% by 2050 as it relates to waste prevention and waste and reuse? So we proposed this at the last meeting. There are the links to the presentation slides from the last meeting where we go into a lot more detail about this. But essentially, we have proposed this prioritization matrix to help you understand how we're going to vet each of the strategies and figure out which ones we want to put into this action plan that we are developing at the state. One would be impact. Obviously, what are the actions that are going to have the greatest impact towards our goals? Feasibility. How likely is it going to be successfully adopted given different barriers, given our capacity? And then stakeholder support, which is really what this meeting and the follow-up survey will be about, is trying to gauge how much stakeholder support from all of you there is for different strategies to better understand what all of you would like to see in this plan. And then I had shared that this was going to be a living document, and I shared this tool that we have been using called Airtable that allows us to kind of tag things to be sortable because there's so many different ways to organize these by sector, by material, by the tool that we use, such as grant funding, our best practices, and then What we are trying to do here is make it so it's a living document so people can see action as it happens, so we can put whether it's a short-term thing, a long-term thing that we're working on in the next couple of years or like 5 years out, and then whether or not we've started it, have completed it, we have progress on it, and any updates in this like note column that you can kind of see on the screenshot here. So that's where we're going with this. And yeah, you can find out more details by looking at the archive page from last month's meeting. And then we also discussed proposed measures for how we want to understand whether or not we're making progress towards our goals. So obviously there's the large measures that we would look at maybe every 3 to 5 years, such as waste characterization study, like do those categories like single-use packaging, do we see less of that being incinerated? And then there's also leading measures that are more on our programs, like how many grants we're giving out, how many people we're supporting. And so I didn't include those all here because that's not the point of this conversation, but please do go ahead if you're curious or if you want to provide any input or thought onto that, go ahead and look at those previous slides from last meeting to see how we're thinking about measuring success. And then without further ado, you hopefully all received the PDFs that I sent this morning. I apologize for it being so late. This was much harder to summarize 10 months of meetings than I thought. But those summary documents do exist, and they are all posted on our website now. Rachel has sent out the link in case you didn't see them. They reflect over 320 individuals, including all of you, who have contributed over the past 10 meetings since last March. And this is, to the best that we could summarize, this is what we heard. And what we really want from you is to understand, did we capture everything? Are we missing anything major? Or did we mischaracterize anything? So that document, to organize it, we broke it up into cultural barriers, so barriers on the individual's part to participate in reduce, reuse, share type initiatives, infrastructure barriers that reuse organizations face, policies barriers or system-wide barriers, and then market-driven barriers. And I'm going to stop sharing this screen and pull up that PDF and give people a chance to look at it and then start. These are the questions that we're asking. Are we missing anything obvious? Have we correctly captured everything? And this is kind of this conversation, if you want to raise your hand using the little like, I guess was that like the emoji thing that raises your hand, we can call on you. Or if you feel more comfortable typing something into the chat box, Rachel can help us facilitate what comes in there. And then by all means, if you don't feel prepared at this point, given that I just sent it out this morning, to really contribute, we are going to send follow-up afterwards about how to provide more comments and feedback on these documents. And that will be available through the close of business day on April 2nd, so next Friday. So we will get that out as soon as possible, and then you will be able to contribute that way as well. So let me just pull up that document, and then I will start having a conversation here. Share screen. Here we go. So Rachel, I'm gonna let you take the lead on facilitating a conversation.
Yeah. So the first person that raised their hand was Bill Stanwood. So
Bill, please let us know what you're thinking.
Erin, I'm very respectful of the amount of work you had to put in to come up with. I read through quickly the two documents that you posted on the email, and they are comprehensive and I think a thorough examination, with one exception that I am personally aware of, and that is that I hoped that in some way there would be an item that particularly addressed what I consider a cultural aspect of advertising that demonstrates junk as get rid of it. And I'm particularly referencing the Got Junk ads that run nationally. They show a person pointing, and stuff just disappears. And the idea we need to capture, I hope, is a partnership with organizations like Got Junk that could somehow adopt the idea in some way that they divert a portion of the material, that it doesn't just disappear. Now, I understand that they are transporters. They are a trucking company. And I understand how difficult it is for them to merge a message with their commercial interest in just getting more stuff. But one thing I hope is that perhaps there could be an incentive to Got Junk and companies like that to divert material and to capture some of the stuff that they show on the screen that's certainly reusable, and maybe get some credit for it. So I don't have a particular recommendation, but I do hope that somehow we address that. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for raising that, Bill. I certainly think that there's rooms to include that in here.
Great. So the next person I'm going to unmute is Hen Nguyen from Lexington.
Oh, hi, thanks for unmuting me. So I would like to add that under the policy barrier, that one of the barriers we are experiencing is that, in particular with trying to advocate for reusable takeout containers by food establishments, that right now the way that the Massachusetts merged food code is written, it allows for refilling returnables that are supplied by the businesses themselves, but it does not address reusable containers that are supplied by consumers. It says it for beverages, but not for food. And I feel like our state needs to have a bill that is similar to the California Bring Your Own bill.
Yes, so about that one, I feel we had, oh, so that ended up in the strategies, but yes, maybe we need to be more explicit in this barrier document as well about the confusion over or in like not full support of reusable refillable systems.
Right, because right now local boards of health are looking to the Massachusetts state food code, or which is based on the FDA food code. And so the language that's written in those codes right now do not address specifically reusable containers supplied by the consumer for food. It only addresses consumer-owned containers for beverages.
Yes, okay. Yeah, we, I can definitely clarify that in the barriers, but in the strategies we did, I don't know if you can see that I changed documents here. Can you see that, Rachel?
Yeah, you're going fast.
Oh, sorry. So under legislation section, we did say, work with legislators to remove barriers in state public health codes and local board of health codes that limit or prevent use of reusable takeout containers and food establishments. And we did, in my own notes, specifically reference the California example as a model.
Yeah, I think it's really important also to specifically say consumer-owned reusable containers.
Okay. We will make a note of that. I really appreciate I know that you've worked a lot on this in Lexington. So
Yeah.
Your feedback is great. We appreciate that.
Okay, we do have a couple chats coming in that I will just mention.
Okay.
And the first has to do with like the cultural barriers. They seem to all kind of focus on end of pipe and rather than prevention, so preventing the purpose. So, and they cite, you know, apparel as having a high environmental footprint. And so people aren't thinking that the first thing you should do is buy less. So perhaps there should be more educational campaigns kind of focused on this, the prevention part.
Okay.
And let's see, and then there's a couple other comments in the chat that the gut junk companies actually do reuse. It's like, and I actually know this as well because I interviewed one of them years ago for a different job I had, but you know, so similarly to like scrap metal or waste paper, they sometimes recycle or reuse what they can. So you know, maybe it's just a matter of making sure that message comes across, you know, in the advertising as well, you know, and really incentivizing that. Let's see, what else? Byo Container Programs, they might treat it like a dining in service. It's on the, oh, okay. Some programs treat it as dining in, so they put the, you know, they put the food on a regular plate and then it's up to the customer to have to transfer it to their own container.
Oh, to get around the food code.
Yeah, so that I guess is happening. Yeah, so I don't know if anybody else wants to raise their hand or we can keep putting in the chat.
And then I did see a direct message. I'm not sure if Julia Wolf was able to get the shared document. Did you chat out the links to those PDFs of the summaries, Rachel? Sorry if I'm not seeing.
I'll redo it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so they should be in the chat. And like I said, that, you know, it took months to look at all of the comments and all the notes and like review the recordings from the previous 10 meetings to try to summarize this. And by no means is it a perfect document. That's why it's a draft. And so anything as you do have more of a chance to read through, we are welcome to hearing, you know, if we've missed anything or if we've mischaracterized anything. Or, you know, we need to tweak some of the things like specifying consumer, you know, brought food items, you know, food serviceware, those type of things. So. Rachel, do we have other?
Yes, so we have Doug Cobalt. I'm gonna unmute you.
Thank you, and good early morning. It's a little after 7 on the West Coast here, so good morning to all you
Thanks
folks
for
on the
joining
East
us.
Coast.
That's impressive.
I just want to touch quickly on the thrifts, because I saw that was one of your priorities here, and also textiles, because you mentioned textiles, Erin. So CPSC is actually embarking on several pilots for textiles, because we're looking at the fast fashion issue, the lightweighting of clothing, the lack of durability of the clothing. And so we're doing a lot of work right now. So please watch us on this. I can put you in touch with my staff member who is heading up this one. But we're looking at repairability of clothing. So for reuse first and foremost, we're looking at then recyclability of the materials, because there's 400 and some odd different blends out there, fabric blends. So trying to get this stuff recycled after the potential reuse is almost impossible because of the number of different materials out there. And so we're looking to see what we can do to help the thrifts, because they get dumped on by a lot of folks just trying to do what exactly was said there is wishful donations. They're trying to do the right thing. And so we're looking at that. And then we're also found in our studies so far that the primary material, at least on the West Coast, that's being landfilled is actually not the clothing. The clothing is actually being shipped offshore to third world countries. So that's why we see a lot of our own t-shirts on folks in Africa and and places like that. But what we're finding out is the majority of what they're landfilling is actually housewares. And it's mostly dishware, glasses, stuff like that, that folks donate that they just can't sell. And so what we're looking also to do is try and create thrift hubs, where when a thrift store gets material they can't sell in their retail outlets, they're going to take it to a thrift hub where these things can be consolidated. So if you have a set of wine glasses, most folks don't want to buy one or two of one wine glass, a couple more of another one. They'd love to get a set if they can. And so by consolidating this, we can actually get a lot of this material in the same place, and then it can be marketed out from there, online sales, et cetera, which we're seeing an increase in. And then I know Peter will love this. I see he's on this morning as well. And for the materials that they donated that might be fixable, repairable, especially like the blenders and toasters and things like that, there will be an opportunity to create jobs for folks that would normally not maybe have a job, to be able to repair these things and then get them marketable again so they're resellable. So those are some of the things we're working on, both from the thrift and the textile, and we're kind of tying them together.
I'm very excited about this idea of the hub. That kind of responds to a lot of the barriers that we've heard talking to the reuse organizations that get stuck with the wishful donations that they can't sell. And then it looks like Peter would like to chime in here too.
Yep. Peter, you can unmute.
Good morning, Doug. The challenge I see, I love the idea of the thrift hub, is that for broken electronics, consumer, if it's working, that's fine. The challenge is for broken stuff is that the provenance of the item is very important, and our ability to repair it often depends on having the person who owned it and it broke under their purview there to tell us what's wrong. Otherwise, you have to end up doing what the Goodwills do, which is they basically plug it in once. If it lights up, they throw it in the store to sell. So somehow that has to be combined with some sort of ability to repair with the person who originally owned it and it broke under present, whether they're going to affect the repair or not. You know, in our fix-a-clinic model, we have them do the repair, and we have had people come with a broken item that says, I already bought a replacement, but I want to learn from this broken one and pass it on to somebody else who can use it. So in my dream of dreams, there's some middle school in Massachusetts where all the kids are repairing all the broken appliances from all the families who are in that middle school in the school, right? And if a broken toaster comes in, they just pick a fixed one off the shelf, and then they put the broken toaster in a pile to be repaired. And I'm doing it for the data. You know, I want to capture what brands and what models are breaking how, and over time, you know, make that part of the wealth of Massachusetts, is that knowledge is known and shared. And then basically we keep all the appliances in service forever.
Love it. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks. Yeah, there's a lot of comments. People like all of these ideas. Something called pre-user neutral territory electronics reuse repair called Tentative.com, it's in the chat, had a first successful sale of Walmart store returns in fair trade recycling this month. So I guess that's a resource to check out that's cited in the chat. And then, you know, yeah, people like the idea of working with folk tech schools for repair. It's like practical skills for the kids. There's a lot of vacant storefronts, you know, so that's, you know, maybe working with some of these local businesses or local landlords to kind of use that space. Let's see.
I will say it does seem like, I mean, we've talked about this before, but we tend to, which I love, look towards solutions. And so we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here, since we were talking about barriers in the beginning. So I would like to, if we can, refocus just slightly on, maybe I can read the high level parts of the barrier document and see if anyone else has any like striking, what about this? Like, why didn't you think of, you know, why is this not included? Or I mentioned this, you know, 5 meetings ago and you somehow missed it, which is totally fine. I probably did. So the cultural barriers here we have as consumers lack the knowledge, attitudes, or behaviors that would support greater cultural adoption of waste prevention, reuse, repair, and share practices in Massachusetts. Then I'm not going to read all the details, but we did break that up into both awareness and knowledge versus beliefs that keep them engaging from waste prevention and reuse. And then that's separate then, or just as a way to organize it, then we have as insufficient access and convenience of reuse and repair. And then after that, I know I'm scrolling, sorry. We talked about infrastructure barriers, so that in general, reuse and repair organizations need greater support. And we specifically talked about things such as storage space, ability to address all of those wishful donations and pay for those wishful donations, schools and skilled workers to repair any broken items that are received. So we try to summarize as many of those things as we heard here. And then I did give a little special shout out to COVID related challenges that I'm hoping at some point, these will not be as big of concerns, but they are still remain a concern now in terms of operational challenges during this time. Policy barriers, the federal policies, state policies, and local policies that inhibit reuse and repair, including zoning ordinances, local board of health rules, HIPAA rules, and then market-driven barriers that are such as quality and repairability of items, as like Doug mentioned with the clothes, and furniture has gone the same way, that there's offsets that make it so new is cheaper, and a lot of chances office spaces that get frequently refurnished because people like to be in the latest style, not just with their clothes, but with their latest gadgets and office spaces being trendy at whatever, you know, that trend is for this year. Yeah, so those are kind of, yeah, that's what we have here. Just as a reminder and a refresher, or an overview for those who have not had a chance to read through this document. Right off the bat, is there anything else that we're like majorly missing?
One question here was, we make the connection between the needs of social service organizations and access to reusable items. So is there like,
what was it was a question, or it was a,
I guess it was a question. It says, you know, like, are we like connecting what the social service organizations need and versus like what they have access to? Like, are they getting what they need? Is that in here?
it probably could be more explicitly in there.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if the person wants, I can, Kathy Mirza, you want to unmute and expand?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I was just looking at the section about, you know, barriers for individuals, and I was thinking about potential barriers for social service organizations. In other words, you know, their ability, their knowledge about what's available out there and connecting the dots so that they have greater access to those physical resources. Say it's a housing program or something, and they're looking for furnishings to help people come out of homelessness. Just as an example, thinking on those terms, if that fits anywhere in here, not just an individual barrier, but an organizational barrier.
Yeah, so kind of merges those two. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of broken up into individual and organizational. And I would say that probably almost fits into, when we talk about strategies, the networking potential of like our ability to help provide that facilitating role, or that like dot connecting role between the supply and the demand, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy.
There's some more chats, but they kind of are talking more about the solutions instead of the barriers. So I don't know.
I
if
am
we
not
wanna-
surprised. We love to talk about solutions.
I
And that's
know.
great.
So
What I'm going to do then is move on to the part where we get to talk about solutions.
okay.
And again, welcome people. This is not the last opportunity to provide feedback on the barriers as you read more through that. Let me switch screens here. bear with me for just a second.
Oh, one thing to add as a barrier,
Yes.
market cannibalism from an OEM point of view, meaning that these manufacturers are destroying goods, because of the, to maintain their place in the market.
I'm not sure if I understand that, but
Robin, do you want to expand on that? They don't want to compete against their own reuse.
oh, so is that like when they shred clothes or?
Yeah,
like use items, or?
we just had our first success. This was inspired by this group. If you'll remember, a few months ago, we ran across these solar panels that were going to be taken out, and we were asked to destroy them, even though they work. And the OEM said, well, look, if they're being returned under warranty, it's not fair to us to refund the money, but have them be sold in competition with our own goods. So we started looking at that particular problem, and then ran into massive destruction going on at Walmart. And we flew 2 of our Egyptian fair trade recycling partners out to California this month to negotiate to buy gently used, TVs, because there's a huge amount of stuff that consumer returns,
Mm-hmm.
which often it was just a buyer's remorse. But, the retailer doesn't want to have to return it, accept it back if there is something wrong with it. So they wind up going to the manufacturers for refund. Then the manufacturers say, okay, and issue a DOS, destroy on site.
Mm-hmm.
So we tend to focus on our own stuff, but I'm saying this is a barrier that could lead to a lot of very high quality stuff being reused that's sort of off our radar screen, because we don't even see what these Costco's and Walmarts are doing with this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And
I have heard that
millions
with
of dollars.
online returns, that it just, which has made me extremely cautious of online shopping. Like I'm not going to buy something in 3 sizes to see if it fits at home, because if I know 2 of them when I return them are going to go to waste, that's really sad. Peter, did you have a response or something else to add to that?
Yeah, you're not going to do that, but lots of other people, like my spouse, do that. So sadly, we have met the enemy, and they is us. But to speak to Robin's issue about solar panels specifically, here in California, we're facing a crisis because we've mandated that all new construction has to have solar panels now, only residential. And what that's done in turn is it's now created this new builder grade solar panels in California that are much, much crappier, coming from overseas, to fit this ability that a builder wants to get the absolutely positively the lowest cost panels that they can possibly get. So that's one issue. And then, even in Massachusetts at our Fix-It clinic, someone comes in with 2 toaster ovens, exactly the same. They say the first one broke in the first year. I called up the manufacturer. They said, don't even bother sending it back to us. We'll just ship you another one. So that's another variation on this thing. Or cut the cord on it. Send us a picture that you've cut the cord, and we'll send you another one. So that speaks to what Doug was talking about.
Okay. Doug, did you want to add more there?
Oh yeah, thanks, Aaron. So what I was actually going to raise was talk just about the California Mattress program and what we've found here. And I know you guys don't have it. You're surrounded by Rhode Island and Connecticut. And I don't know if you're looking at one again for Massachusetts itself. But one of the things that speaks to this is the renovators for mattresses. I find it very difficult to get their hands on decent mattresses from the mattress program, because the mattress industry doesn't want, they want to stop reuse. They want to stop renovation because they want to sell you a new mattress. They don't want you to buy one of the renovated ones. And so there's not, they can't, in the law, we said you cannot disrupt the renovators. But what we didn't put in the law is you can't, you have to encourage it. And so there was a fine line to get that law in. CPSC didn't sponsor that bill, but we've been doing the repairs on it since then. And so that's one thing, if you guys look at a law, or certainly around mattresses or anything like that, look to put reuse in there as almost as a requirement, to send it to reuse first before they can go to destruction, so that we can try to help avoid this.
It's very helpful. We were just talking about this internally yesterday, that there is a proposed mattress EPR law here in Massachusetts, and we can learn from, sorry, California, but we can learn from you with this. So, as well as, yeah, the feedback on mandating solar panels sounds amazing, but then the consequences of it. So, foresight, okay, or hindsight. Let's move on to strategies at this point. If that's okay, Rachel, I don't know if there was anything.
Yeah, no, there's nothing really new. People are like agreeing, you know,
Okay.
commenting. They like what's saying so far.
Okay. So the separate document was specifically broken down. We tried to organize it by, let's see if I can you see my screen? The PowerPoint? Yeah, okay. Oh, where did it go? There we go. So what we did was the only way I can make sense of this internally was to do it by like what we would consider levers here at MassDEP, the things that we have control over that we can do, and kind of put those into all the different strategies that were mentioned into buckets. And so this is how we broke up that document. There's a million ways you could organize these, you know, like I mentioned before, by material, stream, by, you know, whatnot, sector, public sector, private sector, that kind of thing. But we decided education, behavior change, tools, resources, and technical assistance, grants, financial incentives, job training and workforce development, networking, legislation, and procurement. And so that document's broken up like that. And then what we want to know is, obviously, we're going to want to pipe in with maybe some more strategies that, you know, are generated as new ideas or that we didn't capture the first time around. And then really what we're hoping for is getting a general sense of there's so many ideas here. I think I counted 59 individual ideas, which all probably have sub ideas to them. What should MassDEP prioritize? Because we can only do so much. So what were the things that you really want to see us consider putting into this draft action plan? And so we're going to try something new in the world of online technology collaboration. I would, if we were in person, do dot voting, where you could go around and put like so many stickers on, you know, next to the ideas that you like. But instead, we're going to have to do that virtually. There's this program, and we're going to send out this link. It's called Metro Retro. Nice name. It's free to use. You do have to sign in with your Google account or an email. You don't have to sign up for the to receive mail from them or anything. If you are uncomfortable with this, by all means, just wait until we follow up afterwards with another way to provide input. But this is a way that we can do it all now and live and see each other's reactions. So this is just a screenshot, but when you go there, you will see I've put a little sticky note for each of these ideas that were in the document under the different categories of the tools that we would use internally to make these things happen. And then there's a way to add comments, to add reactions, and most importantly to us, add like your own votes so that we can see which ideas kind of generate most excitement. So let me go to this myself. And then I can show you. I can also be sharing my screen for anyone who doesn't want to do this themselves. But let me share my screen. So as you can see everybody who's joining the session. They're going to be hopping around. Their view doesn't affect your view. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, and you can go, and that doesn't change what everyone else is looking at. And as an overview of how to use this, you can click, like say comment, double click on it, and then add your own comment. You could add a totally new idea that is not there just by double clicking and adding your own sticky note. And then what I'm going to do is open this voting tool. And I'm going to give everyone 10 votes. You have to narrow it down to your top 10 ideas. Sorry, that's going to be hard. And I'm not allowing duplicate voting. So it has to be 10 different ideas. And so you can use the vote thing just to like a ones up to ideas that you really like. And I'm just going to stop talking and let people start looking at this in more detail. Maybe we'll give like, we'll start with 20 minutes and you guys can tell me if that's not enough or way too much later. I did get a question about how to vote for things. So I just want to address that really quick. This is the voting tool on the left, the +1 thing on the toolbar. So if you click on that and then you click on the sticky note, that's how you do a vote.
Erin, did you see the question from Megan Sullivan? She's just getting here. I wonder if she can't see the link, if you want to redo the link.
Yes, I will. We can send it back out on the chat.
It's just private messaging her, but I'll put it in the chat in case. Yeah, and just a reminder, people are asking, you do need to log in. So you will create an account and with your email. And Erin, I guess the question is if people don't want to create an account, they're going to be able to provide input afterwards too.
I muted myself, but yes, you can. First, another question is your view is different than everyone else's view, so you can zoom in just using your mouse cursor or your whatever the trackpad thing. Sorry, that's not the technical name for it. And so you can see the everything a little better. And if you do not, as I mentioned, do not feel comfortable creating an account to do this, there is going to be another way to participate. I'm going to follow up afterwards with a link to a form/survey that anyone can access without a login. And that will allow people who didn't make it this meeting provide feedback as well, or any more detailed feedback if you want to provide it. I don't want this to be exclusive to people who don't want to create another login to something, but it is free and you can check that you don't want them to send you spam.
Erin, can you explain how to vote again?
Of course. So if you can see my screen here, there's this voting tool on the left. It's the +1 in a circle. And if you hit that, then I can click on the card and see it just went up from 3 to 4 in the corner of this particular card. And I have 10 votes as an individual. So I can pick the things that I'm most excited about.
And if people want to vote, want to use this later, they're going to be able to access the link after the meeting, right? If they want to take some time and think about it and then vote later.
Yeah, we can keep this open for a while. We're going to keep things open, providing feedback until April 2nd at the close of business.
Yeah, because I think some people, if they, if you're having trouble, if you have to sign up and then it sends a verification to your email, to click on that link so that you can access it. So I think just some people were, there's a couple steps for them.
Yes, and we are completely aware that there's some cumbersome aspects of doing online facilitation here.
But they can do it on their own time. So I think that's the point of it. Don't feel rushed. If you're stressing out now, you can get back into it and do it later.
It is kind of fun just watching everyone squiggle around there. And just be like arts and crafts time, just draw a picture there, I don't know. Yes, like a petri dish under a microscope, exactly. Todd wants more votes because all the ideas are great. Sorry, Todd, that's the whole point. We got to narrow it down. On the bottom here, you can see there's an undo in case something you didn't actually mean to do, like vote for something or create a random sticky note. You can also click on a comment that you made and there'll be a little trash can next to it if you need to delete something. Don't delete other people's ideas, just delete your own comments that you don't like.
So if somebody wants to add a sticky note, Erin, basically they just kind of click anywhere on the page, right?
Yeah, so here, let me see if I can model it. So yeah, I just double clicked and then I can hit, this is what the chat said. Let's see, create a durability rating system for some categories of products. Julia, where would we add that? Maybe tools. Procurement. Yep, okay, there you go. It's in there now. But yeah, so double hit this like arrow, the move tool or whatever, and then double click.
I also think some people, like, if you forget what you have voted for, they're wondering, okay, so if you, looks like if you click on your initials, the circle, you can see what your votes are. Highlight votes.
Oh yeah, so you can see highlight posts. Well, they're all my posts from the beginning. Highlight votes. You can see I voted for this one.
Yeah, so that will
Well,
remind
I
you
didn't,
what
but I
you
have to
voted
hit
for.
this. There you go.
And you get 10.
Yes. And then Amy, I'm going to go ahead and make this a sticky for you.
And there's just some other resources and notes in the chat.
How you vote again is you click on this voting tool to the left, this little +1 and a circle, and then you double click on whichever note card you are excited about. You get 10.
Yep. And so they get 10 votes. Will it let them vote for more, or does it automatically stop you at 10?
It will automatically stop you at 10 because it's based off of your name, and you can see, you can highlight the, so I voted twice here, as you can see on my screen.
Does it let you vote twice on the same item? Because
No, there's no duplicate voting.
Good, excellent, thank you, because I clicked on one thing.
Yeah, no, I changed that as a setting, so you can't duplicate vote.
Yeah, you can tell what you voted for.
And I was looking for my initials, but I guess I don't see
Click
my
on the,
initials.
you should click on the blue dot at the bottom.
Janine, right here. Highlight votes. Those are your votes, Janine.
Oh, thank you.
How do I undo that? It's very fun to watch everyone do this. We're gonna, as you can see on the top, I'm gonna stop this in 2.5 minutes. And there's still gonna be opportunities to provide feedback, but that way we can talk. I'm also appreciating the labels people are putting on things, ideas, and stuff.
Why is some of the categories circled?
There is this thing up here called grouping tool. And so it looks like somebody was playing with the grouping tool. Robin needs a driver's ed course. I think we all do. There's also some people speaking in different languages on here that I cannot decipher. See if I can find that one. Yeah, like this. I don't know what this means, you guys, but.
That was me?
Sorry, what?
He's done with Jim. Lucas is done with Jim.
Jim, yes.
So I want to check with this, the office at 5 minutes. I want to check them.
Okay.
So add a sticky note, you double click anywhere on the page.
Okay, 30-second warning, guys. Get those votes in. Oh, gosh. Sorry to stress you.
I voted on a sticky note, undecipherable, and I can't.
You can undo it.
This one.
Okay. So there's still a lot of little icons going around, but I thought we could just kind of reconvene, and like I've mentioned a couple times, this is not the only way to provide input. If you weren't able to figure it out, or you didn't want to log in or whatever, but I will just kind of take a look here and see what things seem to have the most like plus ones, just read them off, and then we can just have a conversation about, especially about the things that people added that they thought were missing. I just want to hear a little bit more about that. So in this section under tools, resources, and technical assistance, it looks like there's a lot of positive vibes for providing statewide guidance documents, technical assistance, and startup funding for restaurants switching from single-use to reusables.
Yeah.
Assisting nonprofit organizations in finding creative solutions to storage capacity issues. We did hear that as a large barrier. Providing model language to incentivize Board of Health to encourage BYOB containers. And let's see, incentivize adoptions of model ordinances requiring food service businesses to provide single-use packaging items upon request only. A lot of things about food. I think people are getting tired of all the stuff in takeout, single-use, all your food in single-use takeout containers, at least I am. So over here in the job training, there's a lot of feedback and some little heart.
Yeah.
To the Folk Tech School program about repair and refurbishment. And this piloting a workforce development grant. So that is something that we could model off of the Oregon's program. They did a great job there with that. Support the development of job training programs for home deconstruction through a startup grant. Oh wait, this one has even more. Partner with colleges and universities to offer design thinking courses so that our future products are repairable and durable. Let's see. Networking, identifying organizations to take the lead, similar to Reuse Minnesota. I got a lot of little hearts and thumbs up here. Continuing to provide all of our grant funding, got a lot of support. That's good. We can keep doing that. And incentivizing municipalities through our recycling dividends program. Supporting right to repair legislation and EPR legislation, got lots of thumbs up over here. And developing an educational campaign, got a ton, 13. And then this procurement policies that drive demand got a lot of votes too. So those, obviously people are still kind of migrating around here, and there will be more time for feedback, but I just wanted to read off a couple of the things that seem to get the most liking, and then just open it up for conversations. I'm gonna open it up for any comments or conversations for a little bit about especially those new ideas that people added in. Or if anyone wants to make a plug for why they voted for something, and kind of give like a little pitch of, why they think it's so important. we'd love to hear that. Crickets.
Yeah, you can raise your hand. You can type in the chat. Some people are still working on this tool. It looks
Totally fine. You're distracted. I get it. Got a fun new toy to play with over here.
okay. Anne-Marie, I'm going to unmute you.
Yeah, hi, my name is Anne-Marie. I work on the Right to Repair campaign with US PIRG, so obviously I have to plug supporting right to repair legislation because I know how important it is. And obviously those impediments to repair really dissuade people from repairing their stuff. And if we break those down, it would make it easier and hopefully promote more of a reuse culture. But then I also wanted to add the idea, I know that Peter mentioned this before, but having repair taught in schools, especially at a young age, I'm connected with this independent repair technician in Delaware who, was donated a computer when he was young, and that's how he got into STEM and into his business now. And it's a really incredible story and can help kids learn STEM at the same time teaching them how important repair is. So I thought maybe that was a good idea to add.
Yeah, that's great. We have the Voc Tech schools, but maybe we need to be starting younger, like you and Peter have both said. So thank you.
Okay, I'm going to unmute Mladen Bejic. Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
No worries, no worries. It's Mladen Gajic.
Mladen Gajic.
Hey everyone. I just got introduced to this group pretty recently by Todd Kep. And so I'm working on a startup called Plastic Score, where a crowdsourced zero waste rating for restaurants. So it's kind of like a citizen science project, collecting data on what kind of materials, practices restaurants use, from styrofoam containers to utensils given automatically or by request. So we have that out there, and that can drive a few things in terms of incentivizing restaurants to improve their score by putting transparency around waste, as well as providing data that can spur legislation forward. So in terms of knowing how many restaurants in a city actually still use styrofoam, what kind of communities do that, and having that data set that can really help move things forward. So just wanted to throw that pitch in there and let people know about it.
Yeah, thanks. If you want to add the link to the chat, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you.
Like a good resource. Peter? Keep your hand up.
So it's funny that Anne-Marie mentioned this need for training, because Fix-It Clinic has implemented a global fixer server via Discord that supports 24/7 around the world, around the clock repair. And it's become a resource for repairers around the world. And that includes individuals who want to repair their broken stuff to get online and get access to a global network of repairers who can help them walk them through troubleshooting their stuff. So the part that we need in Massachusetts to make this really viable is some sort of bridge to the real world. So some way to get people tools, diagnostic tools like a multimeter or a soldering iron, repair tools, and things to disassemble. And then the other part is, if they really get totally unable to do it, some sort of exchange, some sort of, during the pandemic, contactless exchange, but some other way to basically get the item to its ability to get back into its highest and best use, whether that's another person repairing it for the person or alongside the person. But that resource is live now. So we're already using it with schools in California. There's a high school in California that has an engineering club, and they've all joined the Discord server, and they're all doing repairs for their fellow high schoolers right at this moment. So this is open to Massachusetts as well.
Awesome. And I do know several of our tool lending libraries and libraries of things have started including repair kits. And so that's something we could certainly try to encourage, is more of those locally available tools to assist in this, when you have someone on Discord that can help you. And then, yeah, and then Janice asked what that was called again. Maybe you can put the link to that resource as well in the chat. That'd be great, Peter. this always excites me because there's so many experts on these calls and they have so many great resources to share. So were there maybe some other comments or things that were coming in, Rachel, that you wanted to raise?
Yeah, mostly, just support for these ideas. For as far as the Voc Tech, like working with schools, you need to, look at what the core curriculum is now and kind of see if there's recommendations on how to improve the current curriculum to include these type of things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yep.
So I'm going to stop sharing this screen of all the folks that are still voting and looking at ideas, and share my other screen again with the PowerPoint. No. Work or no? Can't tell. Sorry, guys. Here we go. So we did this part where we started kind of prioritizing strategies, as I mentioned many, many times now. We are going to be following up, and there's still options to continue to provide feedback on what you think we should prioritize in this action plan until the end of next week. And that's when we are going to be working here at MassDEP to really vet all of these ideas, see what we think we can do given our capacity and what we really have a lot of agency over at the agency. And then what, obviously taking into consideration based on that prioritization matrix I had shared earlier, how much support there is. So if you really want that, let's see, that specific strategy to come up as high for stakeholder support, keep voting for it. So, or keep, advocating for that internally so that we know that that's something you really want to see. And then just as I've mentioned this at the last meeting, but this is our tentative schedule. I'm hoping you can all see this. And we ended up pushing this meeting from February to March to allow more time for all of that recap of those barriers and strategies. But we will try to keep the rest of this timeline similar. So we're not going to be meeting as a group for a couple months here. We're proposing that we meet at the beginning, middle-ish of June. And at that point, this is going to be a tentative. I'll share the date in just a second. We will be preparing this draft action plan, having it go through our review processes here, and then sharing that out at that point to get input from all of you again. So obviously we want to continue to keep in touch in that meantime through the listserv, through the knowing of the network that we have already set up, and continue to share out events and resources, but we won't formally meet as a group until June. So this is that date, June 16th. So mark your calendars. I don't have an actual registration because this is still tentative based off of needing to get that draft action plan pulled together and approved to share with you. But we're really hoping to do it on June 16th. And then, okay. Peter, or Ray, I can respond to. The Green Team is a school program that we have that we run through. It's run through CET, but it's funded by MassDEP. It's for K through 12 schools for recycling and composting and waste reduction. And then a MAC is a municipal assistant coordinator. And so we have 8 of them throughout the state. I should know this. And Kathy is one of them. And they assist municipalities throughout the state with their waste reduction programs.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Okay, and then I did want to make a great, exciting announcement. I've just gotten the official go ahead that we can now accept applications for this year for the micro grant program again. So please, if you are a nonprofit, a business, or a community group working with a nonprofit, looking for some funding for reuse, repair, share, source reduction initiative here in the state, we have up to $5,000 that we could offer, depending on the competitiveness of your application, but I'll send this out with the links to the application and the guidelines, and you can always email me with questions, but we would love to see some good ideas and some good projects come in and help support those ideas. And then these are the links to those networking resources that we talked about in terms of keeping open the dialogue before June. So we have a directory link, and anybody who is new to this group will get added unless you email me and say, please don't. And then we have this Google group where people can email each other throughout times to share upcoming events, resources, ask for support for resources like model policies, or whatever it is that you need support for. And just a way to stay connected in the meantime. And at this point, we have quite a bit of time still. So I just want to open up the conversation if there is anybody who wants to add anything. And if not, then you can have some time back to your day, and I will be following up with all the ways that you can continue to provide input on all of this until April 2nd. Yeah, Rachel just put the micro grant page link in there. Thank you, Rachel. Not sure if anyone feels like they just want the rest of their day back, or if they had some pressing issues that they wanted to address. You also have my email address, but we really do appreciate everyone coming and joining us and participating actively in this conversation. And we're very excited about pulling this all together. And let me just see what this, yeah, we will have access to the Metro Retro board, and you can vote in through April, not August, April 2nd. But I'm also going to be sending out a different form for people that don't feel comfortable about logging into something, that allows people to provide that feedback, both on the barriers and the strategies that they like, without being up any personal email address or anything like that. So, and then Robin's wondering if anyone has a contact about used oil paintings from art school. And I do not know, but someone can chime in if they do. Or we'll invite people to email Robin with their suggestions or chat separately with them as well. And then can we add the Google Groups link into the chat too, Rachel, if you have the opportunity to?
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I don't know, there's like a special join or something.
Yeah, so I can actually I have it right here. How you join this, there's two ways. If you have a Google account, you can go and find the group and join it through that. But you can also just email this in an email that says, you know, reduce, reuse plus subscribe, and then you'll get signed up. And then you'll get the emails, and then you just send an email to Reduce Reuse Network MA at googlegroups.com in order to participate, to add conversation. Okay. That, I think we're going to wrap it up early here. And once again, thank you. And I hope to talk to you all soon and continue to hear from you on the listserv and through the opportunities that we provide to continue to provide feedback as you think more and more over what we have sent you. So thanks, everyone. Have a excellent spring day, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.